Markets are at all-time highs. Investors are rejoicing, right? Well, not all investors. And I learned that out today when I was talking to my buddy on the way here to work. And basically, he told me a lot of his play money stocks are not doing so hot. And so that's what we're going to be covering today, is how you can literally sum up and judge a company really quickly to find out if it's a good stock or a bad stock. Hey, I'm Luke Downey. Here's another edition of Lessons with Luke. I've been investing for about 20 years, learned some good things, definitely learned some bad things. Just want to make you a better investor. So if you like this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need you. So I'm walking to work today, and across the street, a buddy of mine hits me and goes, "Hey, Luke, what's up?" You know, whenever it's a bull market, I do what I always do. I'm like, "My account, bro." Then he came over to me and he was like, "Oh man, this is awesome." We started, discussing this, what's going on. Then finally it came up. He was like, "Hey, I've got some stocks I'd like you to kind of tell me your opinion on." And I was like, "Totally cool, right?" That's what we do with friends. And just so you guys know, I'm looking at hundreds of stocks on a daily basis, weekly basis, thousands of stocks. Very rarely is there going to be a stock that I haven't heard of or don't know something about. Whenever you're looking at data all the time, you kind of just see a bunch of tickers. Okay. So he starts showing me some of these stocks that I really don't know that much about. Now, I may have seen a couple of them, but as I was sitting there with him and I was looking through my phone, I just did a couple little spot checks on this. I gave him the old look. I was just kind of like, and then he looked at me like, "What is it?" And I was like, "Man, these stocks don't have the seeds of greatness." And so by the end of that conversation, we ended up walking away. And then he said something very memorable to me. And he goes, "Luke, it doesn't matter if these stocks go up or if they go down." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because they're in my play money account." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So full disclosure, I don't have a play money account. Okay. If I'm going to put money into something, it better be something that I believe in. So there might be a few of you out there that have play money that are, literally just, shooting for the fences or whatever. But here's a good way. Here's a great way that you can judge if a stock has the seeds of greatness. And then at the end of this, we're going to go over a juggernaut that actually is an all-star stock. And we'll go over some of the qualities that it has. So let me share my screen. First stock that my buddy told me about was FuelCell, and the ticker is FCEL. I don't think I knew that much about this stock. Okay. Now, I'm at Yahoo Finance. You guys can be doing this at home too. And you can look at the 5-year chart. Okay. First thing is it is in a downtrend. It is a big downtrend. It's a little bit of an uptick here, but ultimately that is a red flag. Okay. Whenever you've been doing this a long time, you want stocks that are actually going up. So the first thing I did is I pulled up and I wanted to look at what is the revenue story here. Don't tell me about where the stock is going. Don't tell me about who's running the company or anything like that. I just want to see under the hood. And this is the first little litmus test that you should be doing whenever you're looking at stocks, whether you're serious, just getting started, all of that. Let's look at the revenue. So in green, that's the revenue. And then in blue, that's the earnings. And so if the blue is going down, that means earnings are going lower. They're losing money. Okay, that is not a good trend. That is not a healthy trend. You look quarterly, what do you see? I don't see revenue going up. These peaks are getting smaller, but what is getting bigger? The losses. So I'm going to stop sharing just for a second. And it does not matter the story. It doesn't matter the narrative. It doesn't matter all that matters if a company is going to be successful over the long term is the company making money today? And if not, is there a likelihood that it's going to be making money in the future? And as of right now, FCEL is not a company that I am really interested in. I can't find a way to make the numbers look good to me. And again, I've been doing this a while, so take that for what it's worth, right? And this could be just something for you to think about. Let's go ahead and quickly get into the second company that he told me about, and this is Plug. Another thing that's interesting about this is it's got a really interesting ticker. Okay, so sometimes whenever you got like these tickers that are really easy to remember, a lot of times you just got to be careful with that because they could signal some hype. Not always, but it just could. 5-year chart, company really wasn't doing anything. Then there was this huge little spike here, and we'll look This is the year-to-date chart here. Looks like the all-time highs were right whenever the market was at all-time highs back in January. Now, subsequently, we've already made new highs, but some stocks are not participating in this rally. And I think that's healthy because a lot of the fluff is coming out of the system. But again, you don't need to know the story of the stock. All you need to know is, let's see, what is the trend of the revenue and what is the trend of the earnings? And as you can see, it's the same type of trend. There was some growth in revenue. Not even sure what happened here. Revenue looks to be negative. Maybe there was some type of accounting or something that happened, but significant losses. And then if we look at a quarterly basis, this is what I was showing my buddy. These are not the seeds of greatness. And he goes, but they're going to be the next X. That is another flag. You don't want to hear that anybody's going to be the next X, right? Shouldn't you just invest in the company, not the next? But that's for another topic. Let's go ahead and look at the third stock that I was asked to check into. And this is FUBO. FuboTV. Sounds kind of interesting, right? TV sounds awesome. Here's a one-year chart. What do we see? Really wasn't doing much, and then something happened right into December, February, right whenever the market was going crazy and everybody was buying, moms, dads, cousins, everything. And then year to date, what do we see? To see the same trend. It's like this stock was, part of that rally that lifted everything. Good stocks, bad stocks, right? But let's do the litmus test real quick. Again, I don't need to know what FuboTV does. All I need to know is there a narrative that tells me that the seeds of greatness are here? And listen, the only time I see any revenue is right here in 2020. Massive losses, massive. And what do you see? The trend here, if we look on a quarterly basis, I mean, when I see the big blue right here going down, I get a sad face. I'm a positive person. Look, I've got marks here because I smile so much, but that makes me sad because I have a feeling that it's going to be really hard for that company to turn the ship around really fast. And, when you're talking about a company that's already priced at like a 6-7 billion market cap earlier this year, maybe even larger, based on those types of numbers, those types of metrics, didn't sound like a good investment to me. But let's go ahead and look at one more just for giggles. Everybody likes to giggle, right? And this was QS. He asked me to look at QS, which I really didn't know this one. This is Quantumscape Corporation. Year-to-date charts really not doing too much. We look at a one-year chart, really funky, right? It's really kind of up, down, left, right. But let's look at the numbers. Whoa, that's the only story that I need to look at. And maybe it's a turnaround story. Maybe I'll look at this thing in a year from now and the numbers are going to start changing. But for right now, just looking at earnings, right? And I might sound like a pawpaw, like who looks at earnings? But, the trend is clear here. And generally, stocks are going to trend just like their earnings do. Not always, but over the long term. And so let me just say that real quick. So these companies could turn the ship around. They may be the next all-stars. They may be the next outliers. But for right now, I don't really see that in the data, and the chart is starting to reflect some of that reality. So what types of companies should we be looking for? We should be looking for companies that actually have the opposite characteristics of what we just looked at. We want revenues going up over time. We want earnings going up over time, because companies that grow their revenues, grow their earnings, they're making more money, they're going to be able to help their shareholders. Maybe they'll pay a dividend down the road, whatever. What we do know is that the value tends to keep following earnings growth. So let's look at an all-star, amazing company. May have said this before, but NVIDIA Corporation, okay? This is a one-year chart, okay? Not bad, right? What about a 5-year chart? What do you notice? You do notice that, okay, the stock is literally going up. It basically was a 10-bagger the past 5 years. Yeah, it did have this, a little dim mock, a little market death touch. But you know what? Companies that grow their sales, grow their earnings, have amazing products. They are the company. They're not the next company. They are the ones that you want to be betting on. And so you want to see companies that have big, huge revenue growth, you know, the stairway to heaven. Now, look, there was a little choppiness here. A lot of semiconductors went through that, but look how much money these companies actually make. Okay. In 2021, $4.3 billion worth of profit on a revenue number that's just over 16 billion. Then you look at quarterly, you start to see that stairway to heaven, the seeds of greatness, right? These are the seeds here, those earnings, right? That is what you want to look for. You know, if you're an investor, you might be new and you're like trying to make sense of all this. And, you know, NVIDIA might seem like a boring stock, but that company I just showed you was a 10 bagger over the last 5 years. Okay. And it just continues to go up, up, and up. And even though it went through that lull, because it had great fundamentals, because it had that ballast, it had revenue that is growing, it had earnings that were growing. It just goes to show you that, you know, like Tom Brady, they're most likely going to get to the Super Bowl, right? NVIDIA most likely is going to get back to all-time highs. It's going to continue to generate more and more growth, and that's going to be more and more value for investors. So, you know, I sound like I'm judging, but been there, done that. That's a wrap. You guys, let me know some of the traps that you've been involved in. I mean, listen, I've definitely bought some stocks, and I was a sucker. I was a bag holder. I wasn't looking under the hood. And, you know, after doing it for a number of years, it has really paid off to just look at the trend of earnings and the trend of revenue growth. Sometimes that is more important than what the stock is doing or what the story is about the next big thing. So leave me some comments. Tell me some of the stocks that you have got involved in your play money account, and I'd love to hear from it. Hopefully you guys have learned something in this episode. Again, focus on quality, because that is how you dominate the landscape of investing over the long term. See you guys next week.